Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Before we start off tonight's show, I have a very special announcement and a quick shout out. A happy birthday to Marilyn Smeaton. She turned 81 on March 6th. So happy birthday, Marilyn, and God bless you and thank you for your support, dear. I'm thrilled that you enjoyed the show. Tonight's story, everybody, is a bit of a creepy one. I'm sure you will agree. Of course, as ever, please do let me know down below in the comments, and please do like and share. Without further ado, let's get into tonight's story, entitled The Creature. This happened about 2 weeks ago, and I'm still terrified as I write this. For those of you who haven't read my story, The Sound, let me give you some back history really quick. My dad has a cabin in North and West Virginia, a couple of counties over from Point Pleasant. Now, my husband and I have an experience a couple of years ago that scared us so badly that we've refused to go back to that place. Well, my dad lets one of his buddies that lives in town grow Christmas trees on his property because it's a farmland, but my dad doesn't really farm the land. He just uses the cabin as a getaway and for hunting. When his buddy goes to harvest the trees, my dad goes up to help out and in return gets however many trees he wants. My stepmom usually is always by his side, but she had came down with the brutal type of flu and couldn't go this time. My dad asked if my husband and I would go to this trip and help out, but we refused at first. Then I got to thinking and feeling guilty because my dad isn't the best of health anymore. When my 19-year-old brother passed away, it completely destroyed him, and he had the light heart attack. Since then, his heart isn't the best. Well, I talked it over with my husband and he said it was up to me. I called my mum to see if she could help keep our kids for the weekend, and she said yes. I called my dad and told him we would be going to help him. That night, I took the kids to mum's, packed and loaded our gear with our pistol and my trusty .22 rifle. I have the other guns, but my .22 is light and never failed me yet. My husband also packed his pistol and rifle. We were going to prepare this time, just in case anything happened. The next morning, we met Dad and set out on the journey up north. 5 hours of driving, we finally come to the dirt road turnoff, and I will admit, my stomach sank and I started to sweat. I could tell my husband, Neil, was feeling scared too. We get to the cabin and unpack our things, and we change into warmer clothes and put coveralls over them. I load my pistol and place it inside its holster in my side, and load my rifle and sling it off over my shoulder. This is the normal thing to do at the cabin when you're going into the woods because all of the wild animals. I could handle any animal. It was a thing from that night that I was worried about. We go outside and set out on the ATVs. The Christmas trees was on the other side of the property. When we get there, we notice my dad's buggy isn't there yet, and I ask if he called him before we left the cabin, to which he hangs his head and says no. I tell Dad to go back and call him, what time we wait, where we were, just in case someone showed up. He agrees. He agrees and sets out back towards the cabin. We are left alone in the middle of this Christmas tree forest. I get off the ATV to stretch my legs and Neil needs to use the bathroom, so he goes a little ways into the tree line to do that. As I'm standing there, I notice everything is quiet. Dead quiet. No birds, no insects, no nothing. Not even the wind is blowing. I then get this sick feeling in a pit of my stomach, and it feels like I'm being watched. My heart was in my throat and I was getting so nervous, I was starting to shake. I yelled for Neil and nothing. I walked a little in the direction he went and yelled for him again. Nothing still. At this point, I knew something wasn't right. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement along the trees. I stopped and stood still as I could. The quiet was deafening. I heard the trees behind me move and I turned to look, and all I saw was a tall shadowy figure moving beyond the pine trees. I was beyond scared and screamed Neil's name once more, but he still didn't answer me. I ran for the ATV, got on it, geared down and started it, reaching for the key, but it was only air. I looked down to find no key in the starter. My stomach sank. Neil must have taken it with him. I knew how to hotwire it, but my hands were shaking so badly, and the time it would take me to hotwire this thing, something could be up on me in no time. My heart was beating like a wild drum. And I took a deep breath, knowing I had two choices. One, I could go into the woods to look for Neil and risk coming in contact with whatever that shadow was, or I could set off on foot back toward the cabin to get my dad. My mind was racing. My choices were made. I was going to walk back to the cabin to get my dad, and then we would come look for Neil. I hopped off the ATV and took one step forwards towards the way back to the cabin, and then I heard it. A faint, "Help me." It was coming from the forest. Tears started streaming down my face, and I turned and started to run towards Neil's voice. I screamed at Neil to keep yelling so I could find him. I was running, and branches were slapping me in the face and my body, but I didn't dare slow down. I could hear I was getting close because his voice was growing louder. I kept running towards it. Then I found him. He was sitting against the tree with blood streaming down his face. I ran to him and asked what happened. Neil said something big hit him, and that was all he remembered. He had blacked out. I was at a loss. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew we couldn't stay in these woods. I told Neil, "I'm going to help you up and we're going to get the hell out of here." Finally, after a few minutes of pulling and lifting, I got him to his feet. We started walking slowly back through the woods to the ATV. Then we heard it. Something running through the trees. We looked at each other and tried to move faster. We kept going, still hearing that thing right along beside us. We made it to the forest clearing and we could see the ATV. Neil said to lean him against one of the trees and go get the ATV. I did as he said. When he was safely against the tree, I turned to go towards the ATV and ran into a wall. I looked up and I saw a huge thing standing at least 7 foot tall, and it had hair everywhere. And it looked down at me with its hell-coloured red embers. I was so terrified that I couldn't move at all. All I could do was stare, and I saw this thing had wings, black wings that went all the way down to the ground. Neil screamed at me and I awoke from my shock and my mind went blank. I moved around the creature and made a mad dash towards the ATV. I was almost there until something grabbed my shoulder. I looked and saw these huge claw-like talons, and then I was thrown backwards. Before I passed out, I heard him shoot, and a shot rang out, then another, and then nothing but total and utter darkness. I awoke sometime later. I found myself laying on the bed at the cabin. I tried to move, but everything hurt, and my dad came into the room. He looked at me and said, "Don't move, young'un, or you will hurt yourself." I didn't need to be told twice. I looked at Dad and asked what happened. He said I was running towards the ATV and him and his friend seeing the creature right behind me. As it threw me backwards, him and his friend unloaded their shotguns into it. He was silent after that, and I asked what happened after that. Dad looked at me, with the colour gone from his face. I said that the damn thing looked at both of us with these fire-like eyes, spread its wings, let out this god-awful scream and leaped straight up into the sky and flew away. We don't know what that creature was, but I have a feeling it was the creature from our first night at the cabin all those years ago. Since then, Dad has forbid anybody to go there. Even his buddy with the pine trees said he wouldn't be back there. As for Neil, he recovered and is doing well, but I can't say the same for myself. When that creature grabbed my shoulder, it sunk its claws into me. The claw marks are slowly healing, but I've been noticing some changes. Like last night, I found 2 knots on my shoulder blades. And am I growing hair at an alarming rate? I honestly don't know what's going on with me or what will happen. I can tell you this though, I am more terrified than I have ever been in my life. The claw marks from the creature. I am more terrified than I have ever been in my life. Wow. Excellent stuff. Thank you so much to the author, Aya. And I hope you guys enjoyed that one as much as me. Something different for the channel there. Sounds something along the lines of a Jersey Devil. Of course, do let me know what you think down below. As ever, please do like and share. And remember, if you're going Christmas tree hunting, keep your wits about you. And above all, be safe, not sorry.